Hey, this is Chris from Play Comics over at playcomics.com, and you're listening to Odd Dad Out.
Beginning Odd Dad Out podcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Odd Dad Out podcast, where normal is not my specialty. I am your host, Adam Higgins, the Odd Dad Out. You can find me at oddadoutpodcast.com and at Odd Dad Out on all the social media places. And this is the show where I ramble and rant and tell you about whatever the hell's going on in my head, in my life, in the world, and all of the shit. And I tell you about some weird news shit that's just what the fucking? Yeah. And I tell you about some podcasts that I think you should listen to, because we all need to listen to more podcasts, and sharing is caring. Because I'm getting back to that one, damn it. Because you know what? When I had a second tagline, it fucking works. Anyway, how are you doing out there, dear listener, podcast, subscriber, listener sounds so lame. Purveyor. No, I'm the purveyor. What the fuck? I don't know. It's late again. Yeah. I guess this is going to be the regular thing. Everybody went to bed and now I get to record and I get to tell you about what the world. Aren't you so happy? I don't know why I'm awake. No, I know why I'm awake, because it's 12:30 in the morning and I'm drinking a Dr. Pepper and not coffee. Sugar. What can I say? But yeah, it's been one of those kind of times, isn't it? I'm just being silly. I'm being silly because I realized with all of the breaks I've had recently, I've been a lot more serious and I've just been a lot more, been a lot more chill. And I needed to bring some silly back. I needed to bring some fun back to the show, including, and I talked about it last week, I'm bringing the news back, and I told you I'm bringing the news back, and I'm going to be a little more focused. And yes, at this point, I'm making fun of Florida Man, and I realize it's cheesy as fuck to do it, but I think we can all agree, Florida Man. Anyway, and honestly, it's just a really easy source of information. I'm probably going to get away from it because if you recall last week when I talked about doing the news again, I did say that the idea was maybe I'll reach into and grab, Florida Man, air quotes, type stories from every state. Well, when you start doing those searches, shit comes up real thin. Just saying. So yeah, it's going to probably be a lot of picking on Florida for a while, but I may dip back into some of my previous news sources, but when in doubt, Florida Man. But anyway, that's later. That's for later in the show. So again, I want to ask, how you doing? It's getting hectic around here because we're getting ready for vacation. And I don't remember if I mentioned it last week, but I think, I spent the majority of the start of last week as part of our preparations for vacation. My garden work for last week consisted of installing a drip irrigation system with a timer and all that jazz. Because after all, we are going to be gone for a whole week. And normally my sister would be the one coming in. She'd dog sit for us. She'd check on all the animals. She'd water the plants, stuff like that. House sitting stuff. But we're taking the dog with us. And the cats are, for the most part, self-sufficient. We have a great big, pre-filled, they sit there and they can have a week worth of food in their little feeder thing and water and all that jazz. They've got it all. They don't need us. And so we realized, the way the plants are and the gardens are and everything outside, we have to water them very early in the morning. And some days we have to water them twice because it's 100 fucking degrees outside and they can dry out. And so we realized, well, shit. She can't come and water the plants twice a day. She really can't. And then we also realized, well, if we put the plants on a timer and the cats have all their stuff, and we're taking the dog. The only thing she has to come by for is to put out the dumpsters on trash day and maybe check the mail once or twice just to, clear it out. We're like, shit, she really doesn't need to do much. And like I said, I decided it was like, we're going to put the sprinklers on a timer again, because we have to water them once or twice a day. And, and just having a good drip timer is just fucking convenient, because you know what? If I want to fucking sleep in, I don't want to have to like, oh, fuck, I have to get up. I have to go water the garden. Otherwise all the plants are going to die. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to sit there and get up fucking early every day because I have to go out in the garden. And I realize that's being irresponsible. You're irresponsible. You're irresponsible. No, it's more of the, as well established, I work at night and I don't like getting up early in the morning. And I realize it makes me a bad gardener, but I don't want to get up early in the morning. And the first thing I have to do is get up and go, like, before I even have my fucking coffee, I have to get up and go water the gardens. And that sucks, especially if I had a long night and I sleep in. I want to sleep. Sorry. Sleep is nice. So, we like decided it would just be better for us to put in a drip irrigation system. So I'm out there and we ordered like this kit off of Amazon. And it's just like the little drip hose that, like, if you're familiar with like the little one, there's the 1/4-inch hose and a bunch of extensions. And it's like 140 feet of hose. We're like, okay, that's plenty. That'll get us all the way. So it comes in on Monday and I sit there and I'm spending like half my day on Monday, like in the afternoon, running these fucking lines and getting all the little, like, the stakes and the misters and the different like bubblers and all the things and all the plants and run them all out there and get everything out there. And like, oh, cut this here, connect this here, stick this here, run. It's like, okay, bury this under the grass and the thing and this. And they're like, okay, run it. And it's nice. And it's running. And I go and I turn it on and I'm like, all right, yeah. And I get to the first thing and yeah, it looks great. It's spraying really well. And I go to the second thing and hey, that's not spraying so well. And I go to the next plant and hey, there's nothing here. And by the time I get to the other end of the yard, zero pressure, all the water's tapped out, nothing. And I'm like, well, fuck, that didn't work. And then next thing I know, the main line where the water connected to the faucet blew up, just completely burst on my ass and just fucking water spraying everywhere. I was like, God damn it. So I ended up having to go back Tuesday and go to Lowe's and get like a new heavier lines and rerun it all. So let's do this all again and redone it with like put the heavy hard plastic tubing down and run it like completely different ways and new connections and new things and rerun this whole bitch and do this all again. And like, all right, now it's set up and it's working and I get it all connected and get all the special things I need to do and all the connectors and all the hole punches and the bars and the plugs and all the things. And I rerun all of those lines all over again and get everything connected and everything's great. And I've got lines running to all the different plants. Like, yes. And it looks great. Wonderful. This is my second day of running these fucking lines. Great. It works. It's great. It's wonderful. Awesome. It's all sitting on top of the ground. So I got all these black hoses sitting on the fucking rocks and shit over the patio. And I go, well, fuck. I have to bury it. So now it's Wednesday. It is Wednesday. It's about 100 degrees outside. And I also got a timer for this, by the way. And I think I mentioned that I did get an automatic timer to go with this so that every morning at the same time, it will water all the plants. And it only runs for like maybe 3 minutes, but it runs it every day. So that every day they get a good amount of water. So nothing goes out dry. Because again, it's 100 fucking degrees. You can actually, no matter what, some of our plants actually, we have to water twice a day because it will fucking dry out. So being on it. And so we're staying on top of the plants because we don't want anything to, burn up and die. And so now it's Wednesday And I've committed, I'm going to bury this hose. I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal. I have a trenching shovel. I don't even remember why I have a trenching shovel, but I have a trenching shovel. And I've got 4 boys. Free labor. So I'm sitting there and, well, again, I mentioned this is going over the patio, and it's kind of going, we've got, the standard concrete block patio. And then from that into the grass, there's just kind of a little brick path. That's the same bricks that kind of ring because we've got rocks and we've got grass, kind of a rock border between the house and the walls and all that stuff. And so there's some brick border along. And so we've got a little path that's brick that kind of goes across it's like a little bridge across the rocks from the patio to the grass, and it's all nice. Well, the drip line is running over it. So I have to rip up all these bricks. And so, unfortunately, I will say fortunately, these bricks were not concreted in. They weren't laid into cement. They were just laid over, like they compacted the soil there and laid the bricks down. And they didn't actually even sand them. They just laid them down. I actually went in because if you've ever laid a brick patio or brick path like that, is that you've got like the base that it sits in, which is one material, which should be like a sand or a soft material that you put that in. And then over the top, after it's all laid and it's nice and tight and it's all done, then you cover the whole thing in sand, and the sand packs into all the cracks and seals it all up. And that's what gives you a nice tight finish. Well, I went and took it upon myself to fill this all in with sand. Well, now I have to dig it all out. And so I ended up I had like an old flathead screwdriver that I'd snapped off and mostly used as a chisel up to this point. And so I was like, oh, go get me that broken screwdriver and my hammer. And I'm sitting there with a regular screwdriver scratching out all this sand from the bricks. And I have to go in and get like a shovel and all this, and one by one, very carefully, because I don't have any extra bricks, pull up all these bricks on this little path. And I very meticulously rearranged them. And as I lifted them, I set them down on just in front, basically so they're in the exact same position, so that when I have to put everything back, it's all prearranged. Like, okay, this goes here, and then this one goes right here like that, and that one goes like here. And so I very meticulously put everything back. But the other problem I ran into, you know how I said that the bricks weren't concreted in? And I was only half right. They didn't put them in concrete, but they put concrete next to them. So they basically were sitting kind of in like a frame or a box of concrete. And this meant that when I take all these bricks out and I finally get them out, and they're okay. Now I'm going to put the hose down, but the hose is sitting on top of the concrete barriers on the edge of where the bricks are. So it won't go. And if I try and put the bricks on top of it, it's just going to, shear my hose in half. So remember that screwdriver chisel that I was talking about? I then had to sit there and with this busted ass screwdriver chisel thing and meticulously chop away and cut a notch in this concrete little wall thing on the side of where the bricks are. About a half inch, I guess it is, wide. I had to chop a half inch wide notch all the way across this concrete so that I could wedge this hose in there. It's not a hose, but it's like the water line for the drip system. So I could notch this in there so I could bury this fucking hose. I'm like, fuck. And I had to be careful because it's concrete, so it could be sharp. If I don't get this right, I could get the hose in there and end up slicing it in half, or like, oh, there's a sharp pointy bit right here, and when the hose fills up, it's going to stab and it's going to punch a hole in the hose. Next thing I know, I'm shooting water out from underneath my bricks or whatever. And so I had to be very particular about making sure I did a good job chopping up all this concrete and all this stuff. And then, kind of carving a little groove into the ground underneath it. But it worked. Took me about an hour, at least an hour, sitting there between pulling up bricks. And it's like 6 or 7 bricks. Seriously, it's just one row of bricks off this path. So pulling up these bricks, chipping away the concrete on both sides so that I could lay the hose down, and then notching out underneath so that I could set the hose in that groove all the way down, and then relaying the bricks down on top of it meticulously so that they're all back in the exact same position and not, snipping the hose off or anything. Getting this all meticulously realigned and, get the stuff out and tap, 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 and like just straighten this up and get it all back and level it all off again and pack it back down and do all that stuff. And then re-sand the entire bitch and get it all back sanded in. But you know what? And it took me like an hour and a half to do that entire process. And this is for all space, all of like 2 feet of this fucking hose. I know. But you know what? When I was done with it, you couldn't tell there was a fucking hose there, and you couldn't tell that I moved the bricks if you hadn't seen them before. So damn it, I'm happy with the outcome. It still meant that I had about 98 feet more of this hose that I had to bury along the wall line along the house, going in both directions from there. That was just the one thing. I was like, I have to get this section buried or like under the bricks, and the bricks are going to be the biggest part. The rest was, all right, like, well, I'm sitting here doing this and replacing bricks. I was like, all right. And I had 2 little hand trowels. I was like, you start here, go that way. I was like, scoop back, like just pull back the rocks against the wall. Just pull it back and pull it back and pull it back until you're to the dirt. And told the boys, I was like, all right, see where this is? Pull it back. And they just had to go along the wall and basically kind of make little trenches along the entire side of the house and all the way up the walls and all the way up the fence line along. And it's, like I said, it's about, because it was 100-foot coil of this. I used all of it to kind of go around the yard. And so they had to sit there like crawling around the yard. I'm like, and of course they didn't do it all because did I mention it's 100 fucking degrees? I'm pretty sure I mentioned it was 100 fucking degrees. Because right in the middle of this, my wife comes out on her break and sees all the boys out there. And my boys are fairly light skinned and it's kind of funny because they have her complexion. She's very, very pale. She burns in the shade, but they have my tolerance for the sun. So I spend a lot of time out in the sun, especially in the summer. I tan very nicely. I tan very well. They'll turn very red when they first get out in the sun, but after a while, they tan very well. They just look like they're burning, but they look like they have a sunburn after 5 minutes, but they actually don't burn very easily. And so they're actually doing very well, but they're all out there and they're all flushed and it's hot and they're tired. And she's like, nope, you guys are all done. You guys are not going back outside the rest of the day. Meanwhile, I've still got about 60 more feet I've got to bury. And all of my help is now gone. And I haven't buried. It was like, they're sitting there and they're, carving trenches and working and they're, running into bugs. They're like, it's an earwig. It's a centipede. It's a whatever, ants. So, but they were helping and it did help. And having them do that as much as they did was very helpful. But then I lost some help and I spent the better part of Wednesday, probably another 2 to 3 hours out there, because I had to pull up one of the garden beds and it was a lot of like, I'm working around this planter and I got to not like carve out this and dig this out and then work around and move this here. And I was like, well, it's annoying, but I want it to look nice and I want it to be buried right. And so it's just a lot of back and forth. And it's like, this thing keeps popping up and damn it. And but I did it. And I buried all my fucking lines again. It's like 2 or 3 hours out in the sun. And it was one of those, basically spent 3 days out in the yard working on these fucking drip lines and get everything right. And got all my timers, and I'm very happy with my drip system now. But after all of this, like going back and again, I had to keep trenching out the rest of this and digging and burying these lines. And I still actually have to go back and adjust them because I need to get a couple more connector things, because the line that comes off the water comes off and it's like kind of an arc. I need to get a couple of just like 90-degree little L brackets, little L joints, so I can run it straight down and into the ground, because right now it kind of arcs and it's in the middle. And if the boys have to get their bikes out of the yard, they're kind of screwed because there's a hose in the way. And so I need to get some other stuff to connect it, which means I'm going to have to dig up that line right there and rebury it. And that's a whole other adventure. But yeah. And man, I did not go out yet, other than checking on just making sure, seeing, hey, how are the plants doing? I didn't do jack shit in the yard the rest of the fucking week. It was like, nope, fuck it. It's like, how's the plants? They're there. I was like, I'm not worried. Like, I'm not working on anything. I'm not adjusting shit. I was like, nah, fuck it. Let it go. And up until Sunday for Father's Day, because I don't do well with holidays that are me focused, like Father's Day, my birthday, anything like that. It's just I'm not comfortable with those days. Even to a certain degree, my anniversary. Very me focused stuff are those days where, you could say my bipolar is showing, and I tend to get really mopey and very blah, and they're just not good days for me. But I had promised the boys that they would get to all week as I'm working on these sprinkler systems, even though these are little sprinklers that are in the gardens. The boys all week are, can we play in the sprinklers? Can we play in the sprinklers? I'm like, you realize if you play in the sprinklers now, you're going to have to go take another shower tonight. It's like, you just took a shower. You not? Let's save it till the weekend. And like, you were just making a mess right now. You're going to have to take another shower immediately because you were just running around playing in the yard. So but I promised them Sunday. I was like, all right, Sunday. They fucking I think we turned in the back sprinklers for the yard, which is still in like a regrowing phase because I scalped it so I could plant summer grass. And we had the sprinklers on, and we had like one of those, the stereotypicals connected to the hose, and it's like the little bar, and it just kind of sprays and it goes back and forth, that thing. Like a rainbow of just goes back and forth, that thing. I know you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, we had both of those running at the same time for about half an hour, and come back, and there's probably an inch of water, standing water, and they're just running back and forth in grassy mud through the yard. It's like, oh fuck, they're goddamn. Like, all I could think is like, hey, you know what? The yard got a really good deep soak. But I had to go out there with the hose and then spray them all down because they were so grassy. It was like, there's no way in hell she's going to let you guys walk into the house like that. And but you know what? They had fun. But that was the last, seriously, it's the only other thing I seriously did out in the yard after Wednesday. It was like, no, fuck, let the yard be the yard. I'm going to be inside. I've spent enough time. I still have a hard tan line from my watch. And it was funny because after doing all the burying of rocks, and I've got all this red, because we've got red gravel in the yard, I've got all this red rock dust and dirt and everything all over me. And I thought that I was like, oh, it's like, yeah, just really dusty. And I go take my watch off to wash my hands and realize, no, that's just tan. It happens that the color of the rock dust in our yard is the same color as my tan currently. But it was like, oh God, fuck, I spent way too much time outside, and look at, take my shirt off to go jump in the shower and realize I've just got this hard red neck ring, and my chest is all white and pasty and shit. And I'm like, oh fuck, I've been outside in the gardens too much this week. But you know what? I love it. I really love being out in the garden. It's something I honestly have no problem just going outside. And I've said it before. I have no problem being outside when it's 110 degrees. I really don't. I'm perfectly fine out there. I realize it's probably theoretically dangerous to do, but I'm comfortable with it. What can I say? I'm messed up that way. I like the heat. Sue me. But you know what? I'm going to stop here. I'm going to take a break. And I swear, next week, I'm not going to be talking so much about gardens. Why? Because I realize I've been like so garden focused lately. But it's a lot of what I'm doing. But right now, I'm going to stop. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to play some promos because fuck, I haven't done that in a while. And I will be right back with some news.
Do you love role-playing or tabletop games? Do you love Monster of the Week shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Supernatural? Do you wish you could find a podcast that combines all of those things? Well, look no further. Thornvale is a narrative-driven actual play podcast following 3 monster hunters as they fight to keep a small town in Florida safe from the creatures that threaten it. It's full of action. So do you actually say that?
Yes, I'm actually going to say that. I'll be like, I'll distract him, you get him. And so I'm going to try...
Okay, Bjorn, how are you going to get him? Comedy?
I just got this image in my head. Now, this is me, not Sammy, of this dragon that was collecting materials for a chicken farm.
And truly awful dice rolls.
Nope, another 3. That's my second 3 in a row.
Oh my gosh.
We're killing this thing.
If that sounds like it's up your alley, then look us up wherever you listen to podcasts.
Bullshit from the news.
Woo! Boy, I feel rusty. It's been so long. But we're going to do this once I pull up the stories. Okay, I've got it now. I told you, I'm a little rusty. Give me a break, man. All right, I'm going to run down, taking it easy, easing back into the news thing, starting with, I'm just going to go through the stories. If you are in the Oddballs Facebook group, just search in your little groups thing, Oddballs, Friends of the Odd Dad Out podcast, or click the link in the show notes. It's there every week. You know how to find it by now. Anyway, all week I have been posting some of these Florida man stories because, well, like I said, they're really easy cannon fodder to make fun of stupid people. And don't we all just love making fun of stupid people? Yeah, I know. I'm being judgy. Oh, well, come on. They're Florida man. All right, so Florida man throws samurai sword at sheriff's deputies. Oh, yeah. This one is actually from 2018, but you know, what the hell? Florida man in jail after law authorities. That's just poorly worded. God fucking write better, people. Florida man is in jail after law authorities said he threw a samurai sword at deputies responding to a domestic disturbance call. Really? Responding to a 911 call from a woman said her son was threatening her with a pair of swords. Oh no, it's a pair of swords. Reports, when deputies arrived, they found 24-year-old Jeffrey Crane holding the samurai swords. Fuck, I should read these before I come on here, huh? And he refused to put them down. Investigators say he threw one of the swords at deputies. Stun gun was used to subdue him, who had blood alcohol content of 0.36. Holy fuck. Of course, the legal limit to drive is 0.08. I don't know what the legal limit is to handle a samurai sword, but I think it's going to be below 0.36. Okay, what's that? 0.08. I don't know how many beers it takes or however many what the fucks it takes to get to 0.08. But for those of us who are doing the math, that is 4 times the legal limit. 0.36, not 0.036. 0.36. Dude was drunk as fuck. How the fuck was he handling 2 samurai swords when he was that drunk? Holy fuck. So naturally, this guy is facing domestic abuse charges, aggravated assault on law enforcement. Yeah. The fuck? Jackass. Moving on to June 17th, Florida man 62 strips and performs a strange dance, in quotes, strange dance at McDonald's, then tries to impregnate a railing. Fucking drunk people. 62-year-old man removed his clothes and performed a, again, in quotes, strange dance before apparently trying to have relations with a railing. Do I need to go further? I don't even need to read further to assume this dude is either drunk or high off his ass. Dude needs help. Like, a lot. Yeah, I mean, and what's really sad, you don't need to be in Florida to see, like, drunk weirdos outside of McDonald's doing weird shit. But, you know, it's necessary to take your clothes off and fuck the railing. And again, this is in Florida in June. And this one is actually from last year. But this is in Florida in June, outside of McDonald's. Motherfucker, it's hot. It's hot. Dude, you're not impregnating shit. You're burning your ever-living shit out of your balls. That's what you're doing. You are scorching your testicles on the railing outside of the McDonald's. Because you know what? Everybody knows McDonald's has a color scheme, and you know that railing is bright ass yellow. So that thing is going to be hot as hell. Ow. Ow, ow, ow. Holy fuck. Yeah. Apparently this dude has a long history of battery, disturbing the peace, trespassing, open container, disorderly intoxication. Yeah, dude's a career drunk. That's what it is. Dude's a career drunk, humping the McDonald's hand railing. Moving on to the 18th. This one's a double whammy. Florida man with machete face tattoo accused of machete attack. I'm pretty sure he did it. I'm going to go with this guy has a theme. Because you know what? Face tattoos are dumb. I don't give a fuck who you are. Face tattoos are dumb. This dude, you know, like where baseball players or football players will have the black grease paint markings under their eyes. It's supposed to, I don't know if you know this, the point of the black marks under their eyes, it's supposed to reduce the glare from the sun when they're on the field for whatever. I think Mythbusters actually tested this. I don't remember the results, but they tested it. This guy basically has a tattoo, very bad tattoo, of a machete. It could also be a blue whale because it's really shitty, but I'll go with it. It says it's a machete. This guy has a tattoo of a machete under his left eye. That kind of looks like one of those black grease paint scuff mark things under, like, but shitty tattoo aside, I don't know what it is with guys and big bladed weapons this week, but this guy showed up at some dude's house, and I guess they had some sort of a history. He confronts him at what was a family gathering or some shit at this guy's house. They start arguing. He whips out a machete, and, like, you know, yeah, he's just like fucking, dude's fucking nuts. I don't even know. They don't even get into really what the origin and like the nature of this is, other than that he showed up, he whips out a machete, and he swings it at the guy. Guy blocks it with his hand because that's smart. I mean, granted, a guy swings a machete at you, what you're going to do? But run. Those are your options. Your option is run. But okay, fine. He tries to deflect with his left arm. He gets chopped to fuck. Dude passes out. Apparently, this guy fucking drags him to another friend's house, where eventually he ends up getting taken to the hospital. And at this point, at least, well, this was a year ago, but at the point that this was written, the dude still couldn't even use his arm because of the damage. Like, yeah, you just took a fucking machete to the left hand, dipshit. Don't block a machete. You just don't. You dodge and run. And I don't want to, you know, come too hard on the victim, because this guy, you know, crazy ass tat-faced motherfucker shows up at his house and whacks a machete at him. But what the fuck? Really? You don't try and block a machete with your hand or a samurai sword or anything, really. blocking things with your hands usually just doesn't go well. And finally, and I believe this one is actually today, as of date of this recording, this is a current story. Florida man carrying nearly 500 grams of weed tries to steal a plane to meet his girlfriend. And I think when I posted this up in the group, I did a really poor job of I think it's a Rage Against the Machine pun, but trying to steal a plane with a pocket full of weed. And it's really lame. I'll see myself out. Wait, no, it's my show. Fuck. Myrtle Beach. No, New Smyrna Beach. I can't even pronounce that. Fucking Florida. What the fuck, Florida? With your names of fucking places. Man behind bars after he attempted to steal an airplane at the Smyrna Beach Municipal Airport so he could fly to California to meet his girlfriend while carrying nearly 500 grams of marijuana. Dude. How much did he have? How much, if he's still carrying 500 grams, how much did he smoke to be stoned off his ass enough to try and steal a plane? But that's not all, because the guy had even stolen a car, or almost like he carjacked a guy to get to the airport in the first place, because the police were actually there responding to, hey, there's a stolen vehicle parked out on the edge of the property, and this guy is waving police down, hey, this guy, jacked my truck. This is my truck. And saying, oh, he jumped in my truck. I said he offered him $1,000 for a ride. And after they got there, I guess he jumps out and left a bunch of his shit in the back, whatever. And then while that's going on, a guy sitting, the flight instructor comes up and says, hey, there's some dude with a bag hanging out on the wing of a plane station and over there on the tarmac. And he's sitting there asking the flight instructors how to fly a plane. And then they get over there, and dude's sitting there in the plane. He's still sitting there asking him, hey, so how do you fly this thing again? And then the police show up, and he's like, oh, fuck, and jumps out the fucking emergency window. And, of course, they catch him. And this fucking guy, I don't know with people, So, according to evidence, this guy all they had on him in his duffel bag was his ID, some sunglasses, headphones, some cigars and lighters, a pocket knife, laptop, and a meth pipe. which, gives you an idea of a state of mind. But, and, oh yeah, a massive container of marijuana. Meanwhile, this guy is like, nah, man. They're claiming he bought the plane for $20,000 cash. He doesn't have any paperwork or any proof and doesn't know the person he bought it from. But man, I totally bought this plane, man. I cash. I paid cash for this plane, man. I don't know who I bought it from. I just bought this plane, man. It's my plane. No, I don't know how to fly a plane, man. I just bought it, man. Yeah. And then he goes up and after he's sitting there for a while, he goes and changes the story. He's like, oh, I'm the manager for a medical marijuana dispensary, man. I'm just transporting this marijuana to California, man. I think 500 grams of marijuana gets charged for illegal trespassing and I'm assuming excessive. I don't know of any place where you can legally possess 500 grams of marijuana, but I don't know what's a more bullshit story. that he's stealing a plane so he can go to meet his girlfriend, or trying to claim you're transporting weed to California. California's got plenty of weed. They don't need yours too, dude. Let's see. He was taken to jail on charges of grand theft, possession of drug paraphernalia, trespassing on an operational area of an airport, possession of cannabis, and leaving the scene of a crash involving damage. So I guess he crashed the truck. What a fucking asshat. But, of course, links to all these stories are in the show notes and in the Facebook group. Of course, the links to that are in the show notes as well. And all of it's at odddadoutpodcast.com. You know the places. You can read about all these assholes, and I'll post up more of this stuff as I get through the week. I'm going to really try on that. But for right now, I'm going to take another break, play you another promo, and I will be right back with this week's recommended listening feature from a familiar voice. It's Run With Me on This.
If you enjoy space adventures featuring brave and competent astronauts,
can you give me a countdown to be ready? 3, 2...
If you enjoy podcasts that are culturally sensitive,
I've been labeling stuff aboard the ship with Post-its so she can learn our language.
I speak English, you bloody...
If you enjoy shows with sophisticated humor,
well, that's just rude.
It's her spacesuit.
Then you may not want to listen to Oz 9. But if you simply enjoy giggling,
oh, you Anglais, so snooty about all the everythings.
Oz 9 may be the show for you. Get it wherever you find the other shows you like to put in your ears. That title is spelled OZ-9. You could certainly do worse.
Recommended listening.
Hi, I'm Stacey, and I'm the host of Run With Me on This, a brand new podcast for runners and trivia fans alike. In each episode, I explore a different topic and talk about it for 30 minutes. If you're a runner who prefers music to podcasts whilst you're out on your run, then this is the podcast for you. Because not only is it a fascinating topic, but there's also a great beat behind the talking to keep you moving. For those that don't like the music or find it distracting, then don't worry. There's a beat-free version available. You'll find Run With Me on This on all your podcatchers, and you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Run With Me on This. Run With Me on This is a podcast for those that need distractions and motivations to get them up that hill and across the finish line.
Run With Me on This. And if you recognize that voice, and I'm not going to yell at you if you don't, that is the voice of Miss Stacey Frost, previously of the Rough Giraffe podcast. I guess she kicked her mom to the curb. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, and I haven't asked her yet. I don't know. But yes, that is Stacey, previously of Rough Giraffe, doing what is very much in the same vein as Rough Giraffe, with lots of fun, silly trivia. And I thoroughly enjoy the show, if for no other reason than she's just really good with weird shit trivia. Some of the other trivia information shows that I've featured in the past, or that I listen to, like The Story Behind or Your Brain on Facts, are very much normal things type subjects. And so it'll be the history of this thing, or a very historical sort of thing. But with Stacey and Run With Me on This, she's talking about alcohol, or cannibalism, or aging, or bad habits. And the bad habits one is great, because I love the bad habits episodes, because it's all about burping and farting, and there's so many fart puns that she makes. And I think that's probably the best thing, is that, and you have to appreciate British humor, because her delivery is so dry, and she will say these just super silly, cheesy ass, like dad joke level puns, and completely dead serious, just dry as all fuck. And it's so damn funny. And I laugh my ass off with every episode, because that's Janet, and it's the same thing she would do on Rough Giraffe. Is it with Rough Giraffe, it was her and her mom kind of divvying up this information in a very conversational way. In this, she's just kind of monologuing, but expressing all of this weird history and weird facts, and about all of these what the fuck topics. And yeah, seriously, what the fuck and it's just so funny. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that I would have laughed so much learning about cannibalism. But again, it's that British humor. And because it's her delivery. It's that because she's so damn punny and silly. And if you've interacted with Stacey at all anywhere online, or again, listening back to Rough Giraffe, she's just damn silly and punny. And I'm not going to call the jokes lame, but they are of the dad joke pun variety. So just silly, yeah, it's that kind of humor. It's so, and again, in the Bad Habits episode, so many fart jokes. So many. Just, it's great. And each episode is followed by, so you'll have the regular episode and you'll have the Jog On, which is kind of a follow-up where like it kind of does like feedback and she'll ask some questions on social media and it's kind of a social media response feedback type episodes. And so those are fun too. And every episode has 2 versions. And there's a music version where the whole time there's kind of independent artists, and a lot of it's kind of, if you listen to the promo, kind of a funky, techno kind of vibe, but it's high energy. It's exercise music. It's walking music. And the idea being you're listening to this while you're jogging. And so you've got this fun music playing, or there's the beat free version where it's just the facts, just the information, no music in the background, no music breaks, and a lot fewer credits because you don't have all the credits, for all the music. But either way, it's fun to listen to. And so I don't necessarily prefer one over the other. I guess if I had to say, I'd go with the beat free version more just because I don't listen to it running. I listen to it while I'm working or whatever. So I don't need the sort of the musical background of it. But even if I'm listening to the music version, don't mind it. Pretty cool. Funky music. Hey, who's going to complain about funky music? And if you do, you're weird. Anyway, but that is Run With Me on This, available in all your favorite podcatchers. Of course, links in the show notes at odddadoutpodcast.com and on the recommended listening page right there as well. And if you have a recommended listening feature, something you want me to listen to and check out, you can send me an email, show@odddadoutpodcast.com, or hit me up on all the social medias at odddadout on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or again in the Facebook group. I'm just going to keep dropping the Facebook group until you show up. You right there, you need to join the group right now. Tell your friends and all that stuff. Or if you want to hear your voice on the show, telling me whatever the fuck you feel like telling me, or telling me about a show you think I should feature, or just doing a feature of your own because you're cool that way, you can leave me a voicemail at 516-636-7631. That is 516-ODO-POD1. Yeah, it kind of almost spells something. But that is going to do it for me this week. Of course, links to all of those crazy bastards I talked about, and to Run With Me on This, and all of the ways to get in touch with me are always in the show notes at odddadoutpodcast.com. Yes, I just have to keep saying it. And where you can also buy yourself some Odd Dad Out merch. You can check out some of the Odd Dad art in the little show Spart thing right there. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm not going to cut it. Fuck it. I'm too far in. I'm not going to cut it out. You can buy some merch. You can donate to the show, like Chris from Play Comics, Derek and the gang from Rolling Misadventures, Heather from Sunshine and Power Cuts, and Lisa and Sam from I Shake My Head. You guys are all awesome. I owe you stickers. I've been so far fucking behind. I'm getting them to you, I promise. But if you want some cool, fun stuff, you can join. You can do all the things. It's all on the website. I'm not saying it again. It's time to get the fuck out of here. And until next week, oddballs, Thank you and good night.